In China, the government is engaged in the persecution of religious and ethnic minorities. For too long, the Human Rights Council has been a protector of human rights abusers and a cesspool of political bias.
The United States will remember this day in which it was singled out for attack in the General Assembly for the very act of exercising our right as a sovereign nation. And we will remember it when so many countries come calling on us, as they so often do, to pay even more and to use our influence for their benefit. We welcome you as the leader of the Palestinian people here today. But I will decline the advice I was recently given by your top negotiator, Saeb Erekat. I will not shut up. Rather, I will respectfully speak some hard truths.
So let's bring in Nikki Haley, the woman you just saw, because she's on our couch now, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, former South Carolina governor, author of this book, With All Due Respect, Defending America with Grit and Grace. It is excellent. It's amazing how much happened in 2.5 years that you were there, ambassador, I should say, instead of governor. But everyone's focused on your relationship with the president. And you do say, you guys got along, you understood each other.
We got along very well.
How important was it for when you, to accept the job, say, need to be a cabinet position and I need direct access to you? Were those two of your best moves?
You know, it was something that it was important for me to set myself up for success, but to set him up for success. And so I knew I had been a governor. I didn't want to work for someone else. I wanted to make sure that we could work together. And so I asked for it to be a cabinet position. I love policy. I wanted to be on the National Security Council so that I was there when he made his decisions. And I said, you know, I'm not going to be a wallflower or talking head. I need to be able to say what I think. And he said, that's exactly why I want you to do this. And he was true to his word from the first day to the last.
The book is full of so many stories, fascinating, interesting stories that I was local news in South Carolina, so I loved a lot of this. But everyone's focusing on what you wrote in those first few pages about your relationship with Rex Tillerson and John Kelly and how they were trying to tell you to resist the president. He has since come out, John Kelly did respond, but so did Rex Tillerson. And Rex Tillerson just said, rarely were you in many of my many meetings with the president, and he denies ever having resisting the president. But then he does say at no time did I, nor to my direct knowledge, did anyone else serving along with me take any actions to undermine the president. See, he's saying you're not telling the truth.
I mean, that's so Rex. You know, it's typical, and I'm not going to fight over it. If you notice, both he and Kelly, neither one of them denied sitting me down and saying that. And I was in multiple National Security Council meetings where we vetted multiple issues. Ask other people in the administration. Right. Ask H.R. McMaster. He knows that it happened.
Were you in many meetings with him?
Yes, of course I was. You know, when you're a cabinet member, you're in cabinet meetings, National Security Council meetings, Oval Office meetings. I mean, it was constant.
So the exact quote we should probably read, just to make sure.
In just a moment. But, Governor, tell us about the circumstances where the two of them, it was just the three of you. You were in a room in the White House, and they told you what?
Well, I go through in detail in the book, but basically we were having a disagreement in the Oval Office with the president over giving Palestinians aid. Okay. And the agency, it wouldn't reform. They were continuing to bash us, and I was saying, you got to pull the aid. There's no reason for us to be doing this. Rex disagreed. Kelly had his back, and the president, we went over it. I talked to the president. He was there, and then he said, you guys go figure this out.
Okay.
And so we went to another office within the White House, and they were 20 minutes later coming to see me, which I knew they had kind of discussed what they wanted to talk about. And then we sat down, and they tried to challenge me. I kept giving my remarks on why we had to do this, why it was important, why it would strengthen America's hand to do this. And then finally, I think they were exasperated not just by this, but my defense of the president getting out of the Iran deal, my defense of the president getting out of the Paris Climate Agreement, my defense of the president moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And that's when they said, you don't understand. We're not trying to undermine the president. We're trying to save the country.
And people will die, they said?
And Rex said, if I don't do the things I do, people will die. And, you know,
Was that a threat?
It was like, you know, moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Right. Did people die? You know, when we got out of the Iran deal, did people die? It was overinflating, and what you had were two unelected people who thought they knew more than the president.
In fact, John
Kelly
said,
were both patriots, and I will say they both love America, but they were undermining a president and undermining our Constitution.
Here's what John Kelly said in your book. The president didn't know what he was doing. Quote, I don't even think he realized what the legislative branch is and that members of Congress are elected by the people, too. And what Tillerson said exactly, so we should get this right, my conversations with the president in the privacy of the Oval Office were always candid, frank, and my recommendations straightforward. Once the president made a decision, we at the State Department undertook our best efforts to implement those decisions. Ambassador Haley was rarely a participant in many of those meetings and is not in a position to know what I may or may not have said. So you don't know if he called him a moron or not. I continue to be proud of my service as our country's 69th Secretary of State.
Well, and, you know, what I'll tell you, Brian, is then why did the president ask me to come in and be reinforcement when Rex wouldn't? When Rex was stalling getting out of the Iran deal, why was I the one that went to Vienna to go to the IAEA and deal with that? When Rex didn't want to move the embassy to Tel Aviv, why did he go on the record to make sure everyone knew he was totally against it? I mean, and, you know, like with the Palestinian aid, even though the president agreed not to give the aid, Rex turned around and gave half anyway.
$60 billion or something.
Half anyway. And the president was furious because he specifically said, we're not going to do that.
In that statement that Rex Tillerson gave to the Washington Post, he's only talking about his meetings with the
White
president.
House, right.
He's not talking about your meetings, and just the three of you were in that one meeting. But I know you're calling out John Kelly and you're calling out Rex Tillerson. How many other people in the cabinet were resistant to what this president was trying to do?
You know, I think what was alarming for me, and the reason why I wrote about this was because it was such a big part of my time at the UN, you know, kind of watching this happen. But they were two top officials. And the reason...
But there were others?
There were no others that I saw that tried to do this. What bothered me so much, though, is I was a governor. I was elected. And if anyone in my cabinet had done that to me, or tried to undermine me, that's incredibly dangerous. And here you've got a president who is a disruptor trying to change the status quo. Yeah. And they just disagreed with that. And what I've said all along is, do what I did whenever I had an issue. Go sit down with the president, tell him what you think, and if you don't like it, leave. But don't sit there and stall what he's asking you to do or try and go around what he's asking you to do in the name of you thinking that you know better than the rest of than the president himself.
Ambassador, you talked about Vitaly Churkin, the Russian ambassador who has since died. You said that he said you weren't smart. And you said you've always been underestimated. Clearly, you're very smart, became governor and then became the ambassador. What was that like for you? Because as a woman who has just risen up in the ranks, a lot of us who are working and are nice and from South Carolina, we are underestimated. People don't think we're smart.
You know, it wasn't anything new to me. I'm used to being underestimated, and I appreciate it. It motivates me to be stronger, and I kick with a smile. And so I know how to be tough. I know how to get what I need done. I don't care what people think. I care what people see me do.
Yeah, you said you'll take names of those who don't.
And I did. And I did.
Because they're in the book.
Yeah, we have some excerpts here, and you wrote about the media and the narratives. Do you want to share with them? We actually have it on prompter if you want to do that, or you have it in written.
Many people in the press approved of my remarks because they thought they were in defiance of the president. Anytime the press thought I or anyone else in the Trump cabinet disagreed with the president, it ran wild with that story. This would not be the last time the media pursued its favored narrative instead of the more complicated reality. The truth was much different. President Obama had talked a tough game, but had refused to provide Ukraine weapons to fight off Russian-backed separatists. The Trump administration did the opposite.
Right, and you even write in page in the Ukraine, you came out and spoke for the Ukraine. The United States stands with the people of Ukraine. The United States continues to condemn and call for an immediate end to the Russian occupation of Crimea. And you go on to say, in your view, the president's words on Russia were not tough enough. They were too forgiving. But you told him, and you said that, but his actions were strong.
And that's the key, is while he may have been soft in his words, that was his style. It's how he disarms people. It's how he works foreign policy. But his actions were so much tougher. Look at the relationship he developed with Ukraine. He gave them anti-tank ballistic missiles. He helped them with military training. He put sanctions on Russia. He expelled diplomats. He strengthened our military and our energy, which Russia hated. He actually was so much stronger in support of Ukraine than President Obama ever was.
But that's not the narrative we hear.
Ambassador, your dad is from India. I know your parents, they're lovely. And you said when you lived in Bamberg, South Carolina, y'all went to a picnic and no one talked to you.
Yeah.
And you realized y'all were different. Your dad wears the turban. And I'm sure things have changed, but that was a long time ago. And you said you packed up your food and you left the picnic. And you knew at that point that life might be a little bit more challenging for you. What do your parents say now when they look at the American dream in you?
Well, you know, I think when we were growing up, we were the only Indian family in that southern town, and we weren't white enough to be white. We weren't black enough to be black. People didn't know who we were, what we were, why we were there. And I remember my mom would always say, your job is not to show them how you're different. Your job is to show them how you're similar.
Wow.
And it was really, and that lesson that I learned from being teased on the playground played out when I was legislator, governor, and ambassador. Because when you're going against the Russians, my job was to first tell them what we had in common and then go and try and get to the solution of how we were dealing with it.
If you deal with the Russians and you originally had to deal with who's going to play with you on the playground, you held with them both. The name of the book is With All Due Respect. We're just scratching the surface. It's excellent, defending America with grit and grace. Congratulations, Governor/Ambassador. I look forward to your next chapter.
Thank you so much. Great to see you all.
We'll see you in 4 years when you're running for president.
No. But I look forward to sitting on the couch again.
Clemson?
Go Tigers! National championship this year.
All right, I'll support them if you do.
All right.